Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fallen Angels. You guys are the angels. You fell into my channel, and today we're gonna react and do what we've been doing. React to some TikTok videos. Um, I'm gonna try to talk a little more. I hope I don't bother you guys. I'm gonna react a little more because I've been a little bit too quiet, I think, for these videos. And I seen I've been losing a few subscribers, so I don't know if that's the case or if it's because of the girls that I always have on the last screen. If that's the case, put your comments down below. Tell me. There's a lot of you guys that don't like it because I did go viral with that one video that I made with them. So you're always allowed to put your comments down below because this is your channel. I'm just literally the talking head, so I do this for you guys. But I'm gonna start getting this going, and I'm gonna stop the talking, and I'm gonna start getting this going.
The
right
government
now.
is shut down and NASA has stopped giving updates on 3IA Atlas because they in fact know that it's not just a meteor and it's not just going to pass through the sun, and that it's actually the Anunnaki or princely bloodline coming back to do what they're supposed to do.
The Anunnaki. I've been talking that. My girl will tell you. I've been talking to her about that for the 3 years, a little more than 3 years that we've been together. I have a whole library on them, and not just from Sitchin. I'm talking about from everybody. I do the Sumerian, backlore, all their tablets written, deciphered into English, the tablets, and how all this stuff is written. Like God, let us make man in our image and our likeness, like the Bible eventually takes. The Noah story, which is Zasudra and stuff like that. And I have Egyptian mythology, and I have Akkadian and stuff like that. So I know all about this stuff. And it's funny how everybody's talking about it now.
It's insane. And if you don't know who the Anunnaki are and what they relate to and the pantheon behind them, just know that there was a time when they were supposed to return, and at this time it was not good. They were going to the planet Nibiru, and they're supposed to be on their way back. And all the distractions down here on Earth are distracting. But let me just give you a little lesson on what the fuck is going on. I know this cat showed up in my door, all black cat, of course, about 3 weeks ago, and she had kittens. So if anybody wants a kitten, let me know. I didn't know she was pregnant, but we're here now. So 4 kittens for free. Come get them. The interesting thing that most people don't know about the Anunnaki is they are used in everything from like formulas to create curses, and they appear in incantations as well. They also correlate to the Epic of Gilgamesh. If you guys know what that is, it's all insane. Now there are these Anu sky gods that are from around the time of ancient Mesopotamia, and they are all named like in ancient like Mesopotamian texts. They are named by name, and you can find each and every single one. They're a part of like a Babylonian creation story, and they narrate someone named Murdoch, and they assign 300 Anunnaki gods for duty in the heavens and the same number of duty in the netherworlds, giving a total of 600 of these Anunnaki. Now, these are major deities of the Mesopotamian pantheon, and the geological relationship were different than those of the individual deities that were part of the Anunnaki. They had specific things that did not really align with where they were at. Nevertheless, these Sumerian deities were very significant. They were said to have this whole little spiel about determining the fate of humans. This is what they looked like. They had these wings, these nice little hats. They were sky gods for sure, 100%. There are major similarities between them, which would be the Anunnaki, and the Nephilim, which were the fallen angels that abandoned their watch posts, and they also align with the old Babylonian version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Again, one big thing that people don't talk about is how the Anunnaki, the term Anu and
Gilgamesh is Nimrod. So if you guys know the story about Nimrod is Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh was 2/3 deity. You know what I mean? So that's just food for thought.
The Sumerian text translates to princely blood. And the Anunnaki believed in keeping a princely bloodline pure, and said that one day they would come back from planet Nibiru to re-engulf that bloodline. And basically redetermine the fate of humans. And that's 3I Atlas. That is them returning. I am almost 100% sure that these people traveling through the galaxy who will stop on Jupiter, okay, they will stop on Jupiter next year, March 2026. They're on their way back. And we're in the plot of Don't Look Up. I'm just putting that out there. Think what you want.
Ow! Oh my, get off! What are you? Ow, ow, ow! Let go! It's on me! It's on me! No! Ah!
So this is how you tell.
What the fuck was that? That was a good video. I want to rewind it, but this is being taped. But you guys might want to rewind that because that was awesome.
If the voice of your soul is trying to speak to you, listen as Dr. Anna Yusim explains these important signs on intuition and synchronicity.
We talked about how do you listen to the voice of your soul? And the internal way to do it is through intuition, which is the voice of the soul. Now, the external way to connect to intuition is through synchronicity, term coined by psychologist Carl Jung to describe the co-occurrence of two things that are not causally related. So synchronicities are the external way to get intuitive guidance from the universe. Intuition is the internal way to do that. I was on a trip to Ukraine with the Kabbalah Center. And on that trip one night, I woke up with this midnight panic attacks. And I'm like, what is happening? And then I felt compelled to check my email and found out that literally 1 minute prior, a patient of mine had emailed me that he was feeling suicidal. By virtue of my having received that email exactly when I did, I was able to call my patient and literally and figuratively talk him off the ledge. The very fact that I awakened like this, called my patient, it was so meaningful to both him and myself. And so question is, how do we get more people to connect with people on that level? You know, the answer is really to do your own work and to look as deep as you can within yourself, always, and to connect to your own soul, listen to your soul, connect to your intuition, know who you are, know the difference between the voice of your soul and your intuition, which is the same thing, and all the other voices that you can hear.
What's that? Oh, a typhoon hit Alaska, yet there's hardly any news coverage at all about it, and people woke up to their houses floating down the river.
Shit.
Tell me more. Yeah, this came in hot, and there was zero warning to the people there in Alaska in these indigenous cities. And what reason was that? Oh, because they've cut the funding for that, and now they aren't able to actually tell people about these well in advance, and in fact, not at all. They're just letting them hit cities now because they don't even know they're coming. But there's also zero news coverage on this. And why is that? Is it because it might be another land grab? I mean, that's just a thought. The crazy part about this is it actually hit several cities there in Alaska without any warning. Okay. The other issue that they're running into is there's no funding to send help. Okay, then.
What? Whoa! Hey! Ah! Oh, Lord!
What the fuck was that? That's another one. Rewind that because that was awesome. Poor guy.
My ribs, dang deer, just body slammed me. You all right out there? Yeah, mailbox ain't though.
God damn it.
There's a skeleton inside the human body that we cannot see, but we can control using this guy. And it was so complex that the ancient Egyptians and Tibetans created an entire culture and science around decoding it. So where do we get it? Plants. For example, if a leaf gets cut, then plants can signal to other plants there's imminent danger. A special type of plasma photography can be used to recreate the electric skeleton of the cut leaf. It's called the phantom leaf effect. Every time a cell divides, regions of high-energy plasma form around that split boundary, an indicator something is alive, and
Very
humans
smart guy.
have this skeleton too, which has been used to detect the earliest stages of cancer. How does it work? Each cell has a voltage. Scaffolding in the cell called microtubules can tell the voltage across all the different parts. This tells proteins where to go. These define the cell's geometry the same way your phone defines my geometry. These are the tubes, and you'll notice they connect to other cells. Those tubes are exactly what you see when a cell divides and pulls itself apart into two pieces. When it does that, it creates something called a gap junction. That way the cell can share energy and matter and information. Using a special dye, you can get these channels to light up. Shifts in the membrane voltage will determine if a cell splits or stays doing cell stuff. But how does one cell know where to put itself to grow into an entire organism's form? How does this cell here know it needs to grow a root thing here? Well, it appears that is not in the organism itself. The final form may be stored outside of the organism. Dr. Michael Levin is a Harvard
Freeze
professor,
it.
and he works with these
Final
planarian
form.
flatworms. If you cut them, all the pieces grow into a new worm. By adjusting the voltage on those gaps we just talked about, he was able to grow a worm with 2 heads, and one with 2 tails, and one with a head on its side, and a tadpole with an eye on its tail, and a frog with another arm. If we crack the code to the human skeleton, we could regrow limbs or repair organs internally ourselves. We're looking at a liquid light skeleton that's absolutely real. Biophotons are the blueprint, bioplasma builds it. If you were from ancient Tibet, you would call this the rainbow light body. If you were from ancient Egypt, you'd call it the Merkaba. So if plants can maintain this skeleton, can we? Is our form that we grew still present if we die? Where does the energy come from that plugs us into this vehicle? Well, I'm gonna have to make a part 2 for that because of the attention span thing. If you can't wait for that, there is way more here. I will see you.
Hi, sweetie. We can remember the future, and I can tell you how to do this using, guess what? Plasma, the fourth state of matter. Just hear me out. So in this article, Julia Mossbridge says that you can remember the future. It's called precognition. She explains that it's very real and people are resistant because of fear of the unknown, because it breaks your perception of reality. There's even a study in the mid-90s where they basically proved precognition, that we remember the future. It was declassified by the CIA. Here's the thing you're probably wondering, like, how the F do I do it, right? That's what I always think. I'm like, yeah, but how? Let me tell you. So I go way more into this in my book. It's out September 9th, link in bio. Paperback link will be out 9/9. Okay, so what's it have to do with plasma? So most people would read this article and be like, what is this? Goodbye. But this displays something amazing about our plasma intelligence over using our minds and remembering the future. So to sum it up, this article, so there's a plasma membrane, it's around a cell, it controls what enters and leaves the cell. It has to do with communication. Now, if you remember recently, they said that our bioplasma field, our aura, actually emits light, like in science. Eileen McCusick calls it the human biofield. So imagine that this is our cell, and the outer layer is where our consciousness goes, and then in and out, and in and out, okay? It's a feedback system of plasma. Now back to what I was saying. So the way that plasma membranes communicate or work versus the traditional vesicle-based routes, which is another way of working, it's kind of like using your mind, I'll explain. It's how plasma intelligence or plasma membranes work, which we have. And this is how you can remember the future. So it's instantaneous knowing. It is using your felt sense. It is using your olfactory senses, which, yes, are smell, but they're also your intuition. It's not just smell. I go into it in my book. It is feeling something with your knowing and your senses before assigning meaning to it. Marty Spiegelman talks about it. She is a literal genius. Also has a course about this. She calls it precision consciousness. And basically, one of the consciousnesses she talks about is when you don't assign meaning to things right away. You go outside, you sit under a tree, you don't assign any meaning to it, and you can have an experience of awareness. And if you start doing this with other things, you'll start to receive images from future potentials. It takes time. It's a very subtle thing. It feels dreamlike and surreal and weird. It's not supposed to totally make sense. It's a bit of a mystery. Once again, I go more into it in my book, and I'll go more into it in the future. Growing this faculty is how you remember future potentials to help you make decisions in your present. But if you don't heal yourself, your future potentials are all from that unhealed place. And as we grow, there's better future potentials to pull from, because it's not really the future. It's just other timelines. Past and the future are just all other timelines stemming from your unhealed or healed self. We're all in progress. Our mind has functions too, but it's just slower. We're meant to feel first, then assign. Not assign from our past, assign from our present, using our awareness. You can buy it for my book. It's all about plasma.
Who created the Anunnaki? This is one of the questions I get asked the most here on the channel. And the answer is not as simple as it might seem. In fact, it's extremely complex. In this video, we're going on a journey, and I have no doubt that by the end of it, you'll be completely satisfied. That's because when we reach the final stop of this great exploration, we will have found what we are all searching for. We begin our journey not in the presence of a singular god, but with a symbol quietly carved into stone, stamped into clay, and carried through secret rites across centuries. The star. To modern eyes, it may seem like decoration, but to the ancients, it was a declaration. It said, quite literally, the divine comes from above. In ancient Sumer, the 8-pointed star was not art, it was theology. This star, rendered in the form of the cuneiform sign, Dingir, marked the names of the gods like a celestial fingerprint. Inanna, Enlil, Enki. That prefix wasn't ornamental. It proclaimed, this is a being from the sky, a deity, a Dingir. These weren't metaphorical skies. These were literal heavens, celestial realms the ancients believed their gods descended from. They didn't think of gods as concepts. They thought of them as real, powerful presences from above. The Akkadians inherited this symbolic language and refined it into something new, Elum, a word, not a symbol. But its root still meant the same, divinity, heavenly origin, elevated being. From this term, we eventually arrive at El and Elohim, the words later absorbed into Hebrew scripture. But let's be clear, Elohim is plural, not a single god, but a collective, powers, forces, entities. And yet, over time, through translation and religious consolidation, Elohim was treated as singular, God, one, omnipotent. But that's not where the word began. That's not how it was understood by those who first spoke it. And above them all stood On to the Sumerians, Anu to the Akkadians, the personification of the sky itself, the celestial order, the throne above all others. He wasn't worshipped like a local deity. He was revered like the sky, unreachable, unchangeable, and always present. His realm was the seventh heaven, a term that echoes even today. His symbol, the very star we've seen etched on clay and echoed in history as the Maltese cross, passed down through royal insignias and secret orders. These symbols weren't chosen randomly, they were inherited, and they all point back to Anu, to the sky. This cosmic court of Anu and Lil Enki and their celestial siblings is not unique. Compare them to other heavenly fathers who preside above creation. Zeus wielded lightning, commanding thunder beneath Mount Olympus. Dyaus Pita, the Vedic sky father, spoke authority over early Aryan divinities. El, the ancient Canaanite patriarch, was father of the divine council. All of them embody the archetype, ruler from above, sky-born, commanding cosmic justice. But look closely, these divine figures, like the Anunnaki, are never portrayed as the ultimate origin. They emerge within genealogies, hierarchies, and myths of succession. Their power is real, but derivative. Their authority is entrusted, not absolute. That hierarchical structure, divine royalty, family bonds, delegated rule, is precisely how ancient humans visualized divinity. The gods mirrored their own reality: cities, kings, temples, succession, politics. Divinity meant administration of worldly and cosmic order, not metaphysical origin. We must see that monotheism is not the default human vision. Ancient worlds began with plural deities, structured in dynastic categories, each with domain and city. Only later, through consolidation, theology, and empire, were these multiplied divinities collapsed into one. Even El and Yahweh themselves were historically plural figures before becoming singular and transcendent. The Anunnaki represent the foundation of this worldview, divine plurality arranged beneath sky god rule. Anu, as king of heaven, unified power but still participated in lineage. He did not create, he inherited. That realization forces a crucial question. If Anu is not the source of creation, who or what is? To understand the divine, the ancients didn't rely on doctrine. They relied on symbols, prefixes, and poetry. Their gods weren't defined by omniscience or moral perfection. They were defined by lineage, domain, and cosmic responsibility. and their titles reflected that. The Dingir prefix didn't just apply to one god, it was used for all, a democratization of the heavens, a reminder that divinity was a shared phenomenon, not a singular authority, but...
Let me cut you off there. Eden was spoken by them before there was even 1,000 years before Hebrew was even invented. And Eden is right above the Persian Gulf in Iraq, the very beginning. And it's E.din. E stands for home, and the .din is short for Dingir, and that was home for the lofty ones. So they were talking about Eden, the first successfully created male, when they started doing the DNA to try to make man in their image and their likeness so we could do the work to get them the gold. This first successfully created male was called Adamu, A-D-A-M-U, and it just meant man, just like Adam just meant man, you know what I mean? So that's a little weird, you know, not the same thing, because I'm not religious. I do believe in this, you know what I mean? And this stuff is a hell of a lot older than any of the religions that are known today, you know, all the biggest ones. And a lot of their stories were taken from them and shortened and changed a little bit, summarized to fit people's needs at that time. You know what I mean? That's all the other stuff you got to take into consideration.
Something happened. Something profound. As centuries passed, the old gods of storm and sea, love and war began to fade. And in their place, a new idea emerged. One God, one truth, one book. This was not an evolution of theology. It was a consolidation of power. The plural became singular. The council became a throne. Elohim, once a term denoting a group, was transformed into God. Monotheism replaced polytheism, not through revelation, but through political and cultural engineering. It was easier to command loyalty to one sovereign, one heaven, one judgment. The ancients didn't separate reality into categories like we do. Good and evil, God and devil, angel and demon, heaven and hell. Their world was messier. The divine was dangerous, seductive, unpredictable. Deities fought, fell in love, punished entire cities, showed mercy without reason. Some were creators, some destroyers, many were both. Morality was not a binary, it was circumstantial, contextual. Divine beings were reflections of nature itself, beautiful and brutal, nurturing and destructive.
Some of the stuff going on in Silicon Valley, there are some weird Aleister Crowley cults there. This is hardcore occult stuff. You think of Silicon Valley, you think of the modern elite as being secularists, rationalists.
There's a category of people who are seeking power from supernatural forces that they acknowledge are absolutely real.
Right. An explosion in occult's a big, broad term.
Yes, but what does it, can we define it?
It technically means the hidden, whether it's astrology, or it's the concept of manifesting, which is law of attraction type stuff.
And these are the people that we all look up to. Well, I don't, but these are the people that most people call stars. You do realize they have to tell you these things because they don't want no karmic retribution, so they'll pass it off as comedy. But let's be honest, it's a bit strange, innit? Everything about that industry is bizarre, and everyone laughs and jests. If only they knew the truth, that's all I'm gonna say.
Sarcophagi were not primarily used as stone coffins. They were used as sensory deprivation tanks to induce theta neural oscillations in initiates' brains for three main purposes: past life memory exploration, healing, and initiation. Kids are in a theta dominant state from about 2 to 7 years old. Dr. Ian Stevenson's research shows that kids in that age range naturally have past life memories. Hypnosis subjects are put into theta wave states Dolores Cannon's past life regression hypnotherapy seems to second Stevenson's work. Each suggests theta waves are key to the Akashic records. Healing is theorized to occur in the King's Chamber in the pyramid at Giza and function in manners consistent with Qigong, Reiki, the placebo effect, etc. Initiation took place in the Queen's Chamber and is the legitimate origin of the baptism ritual, activation of the Ba, aka a Kundalini awakening. A full Kundalini awakening is enlightenment. Itak Bentov wrote, frequencies of about 4 or 7 hertz may be able to trigger a spontaneous physio-Kundalini experience. Those values fall squarely into the theta frequency range. For reference, Bentov's biomedical models were key to the gateway experience research. Magnesium sulfate used in sensory deprivation solution was most likely refined from basalt using chemicals Jeffrey Drome thinks they were manufacturing in ancient Egypt. With these connections demonstrated between enlightenment, chemistry, baptism, and ancient Egyptian buildings, this is likely the core that ties Egypt to alchemy and chemistry.
Why did they name this mission Apollo? Apollo had nothing to do with the moon. Apollo is a solar deity. If you look at the footage and you listen to the audio, the astronauts.
We found more of that black glass up here. Yep, this is what we're looking for. We found more of these pit marks, these impact pit marks, and more of this black glass.
They went up there to look for the evidence of the solar micronova, and they found it in droves. That's why they named a moon mission Apollo. And take a look at the prevalence of the sun on this mission badge. I would say it's more prevalent than the moon is, mostly cut off. We've got a white horse, a black horse, a pale horse, and then the red one is the sun itself. And why does the sun look like that? Like it's got red clouds and it's blasting out in all directions. We are talking about the moon mission, right?
This 1545 map changes everything. You gotta see this one. Hit the follow button because we're about to dive in. So, yeah, this shit's crazy. This map shows America. Check it out. We'll just show it right over here. Asia Orientals. And when I just tell you it shows it in detail with a lot of places. There's Hispania, Asia. And then you go over here, you have Hispania again, and then what's that? Asia Magna. And then India Orientalis. So I had a map before that showed America as India, but alright, now you tell me, and you just go ahead and comment and try to tell me how in the F did they put all these different places in all these different areas. Look at all the cities they have detailed out. Just go ahead and look, pause if you want to. And then you tell me in the comments how in the heck they have all of these different areas. Look, you even got Florida right there. Terra, Florida. Go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. We'll take this down and you'll see we got Central America, and then we go down to South America here. And detailed out really well there. Oh, damn. Look at that. Cannibals. Papagali, and down here terra firma, animals, and then gigantum, which is the land of the giants, which we've seen many times now. And then you have the Australian realm here, they're calling that right now. But the real point of even showing this entire thing is craziness right here. I've never seen anything like it. Look at that. We're going to show it again. Asia Orientals. Let's look at the different places too. Let's see what we got down through here. Blah. Ethnia. Chinkala. Phomia. I find probably stay up way too late. guys, thanks for watching. I thought this was kind of crazy. Have you ever heard of anybody calling it Asia Magnet? It definitely our U.S. here. 100%. Look, we got Terre France when they came in and took up the area there in the north up in Canada. Yeah. Do me a favor, throw something in the comments, give me your thoughts. Like, follow, and share, and stay tuned for more.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, Patricia's visibly exhausted, gasping for breath, as Carrie continues to chase her.
You done playing stupid games? Why you shut up? Why you shut up? Huh? What?
In the end, Carrie appears to be heading back home. Yet, behind that silence, he plots something dangerous. Even in his intoxicated state, he knows Patricia's been recording his every move. So he makes a calculated choice to stay quiet enough to make Patricia believe that everything's over and follow him back into
Mount Hermon. Oh! In the book of Enoch, 200 angels, watchers, descended upon the top of Mount Hermon. But this man, Sir Charles Warren, he was the chief of police for London or something, but he wanted to go to the Israel-Palestine area and map it out. And he made it to Mount Hermon, and he said there was this giant ancient temple. There's no pictures of it, but what he did was he drew it out. It was a spiral thing.
Wow.
And he said at the center it appeared to be an altar for sacrifices. But up there also was this giant stone tablet pillar. And so he's like, yo, we're going to bring that back with us. They brought it back to England, but then the British Museum put it in the archives. And to this day, no one is allowed to go and do research on it.
Wow.
But today, the peak of Mount Hermon is a UN lookout post kind of thing. If you're not high ranking within the UN, you cannot go up there. They have banned any archaeological digs, anything around that area.
Oh, man.
Not cool.
What's crazy too is some biblical scholars theorize that the transfiguration of Jesus also happened at the top of Mount Hermon. If the watchers descended upon this place, is there a weird portal?
So wild. That's crazy to think about.
What? Let's hear more.
Fame that is just too dangerous for this.
Yeah, so, if you don't drink the Kool-Aid, you don't drink the gold juice. So I was offered the gold juice 3 times in my 20s, my 30s, and
What's
my
that?
40s.
Pete? A lot of golden showers in
The
Burbank.
gold juice that I will live forever and I'll have whatever I want. The gold juice. You never offered the gold juice?
No, I'm a scumbag comic. What's the gold juice?
That's all I'm going to say here, because they already took one of my videos down. But I just posted a 10-minute subs-only video on what I think the gold juice is. And you can maybe take a guess by the cover of the subs video. You should go check it out. But not if you're closed-minded. That's not for you. And maybe if you don't understand how the Statue of Liberty is actually the statue of Lucifer, and the original Statue of Liberty face looked like that, which looks exactly like that. And well, I've proven that. So if you can connect the dots, this makes a lot more sense, and you should go watch the gold juice video. Trust me, it's worth the $2. Of course, all this for entertainment. I do this stuff for funsies, entertainment only.
What would happen if you used rice water on your face every day for 2 weeks? Rice water has a lot of B vitamins, including inositol, niacin, vitamin B6, B2. All of these can help reduce melanin, which causes hyperpigmentation. This will help decrease the darker spots on your face, giving you a radiant, less dull appearance. Your skin will become softer with more hydration. If you ferment your rice water, you'll have more lactic acid, which matches the pH of your skin. This good bacteria and yeast supports the microbiome on your skin, giving you tighter pores and less acne.
Enoch is in heaven vibing out with God and the angels, right? And God's like, hey, yo, Enoch, look at those tiny little bright lights. They're called
stars. They're actually divine beings. They each have their own job, their own orbit, but sometimes, occasionally, some of them like to freestyle their trajectory, and I have to banish them. Fast forward to today, NASA has found a comet, 3I Atlas, that is moving at 130,000 miles per hour like it's late to the rapture. It's spewing water like a cosmic water hose, and it's glowing green, which is not unusual for comets. But still, that sounds a whole lot like what God was describing to Enoch in the Book of Luminaries. Because Enoch would have said, yup, just another rebellious luminary. Meanwhile, scientists are over here telling us it's just dust and ice. Enoch wasn't the only one that talked about rebellious stars, though. You got the Hopi Nation talking about the blue star Kachina. The Mayans believed that a comet would come along and reset the world. And then, of course, in Revelation, you have the wormwood prophecy that's going to turn the waters bitter. 3 different cultures, one message, that when a star breaks orbit, humanity's going to get its ass whooping for how it acts. Maybe these aren't warnings of doom. Maybe they're just celestial reminders that we should respect the Earth and shift with it when it shifts. Because whether 3I Atlas is a rebel star, a celestial messenger, or just space ice with main character energy, it is on brand for the end of the world. Or is it just another Tuesday in 2025? I don't know. Because whether 3I Atlas is just a
And space weather is something that dramatically affects our lives here on Earth, and becomes more and more important to forecast and predict every year because our
Do we have space
technological lives.
weathermen?
Yeah, absolutely. NOAA has space weathermen that give us warnings, and those warnings are important because space weather can devastate our technological society we live in.
The Gateway process isn't your typical military strategy. It's a mind-bending journey that involves participants projecting their consciousness beyond the constraints of our perceived reality. Developed by the Monroe Institute in the 1970s, this process combines brainwave synchronization techniques with specific sound frequencies to induce altered states of consciousness. What exactly does the Gateway process offer?
What happened to Bradley Cooper? Because this isn't the Bradley Cooper that I remember at all. He looks completely different here. Why are all of these celebrities looking different? Because again, this is the Bradley Cooper I remember. So who is this right here? Who? This looks like somebody else entirely. So what is really going on here? And here is a side-by-side comparison just to show you the differences. Again, that is the Bradley Cooper I remember. So who is this right here? I don't know what's going on. Oh yeah, this video is for entertainment purposes only. That's all that this is. I'm just sharing photos. That's all that I'm doing. But something weird is going on. Wake up.
There's a funny trick they teach, which I'll teach you. It's not part of my warmth cues, but I'm gonna teach it to you because I think it's interesting. Don't let anyone use this on you. Okay.
And nobody at home use this on anyone else.
Don't use this on anyone else. But so there's this thing that NLP people will do, or pickup artists will do, where they move their hand like this, and the other person will begin to nod, because typically when we do this with our hand, the other person starts to nod, which makes you think, I agree, I agree, I agree. And so what I've noticed very manipulative people will do is they'll be doing this, they speak like, don't you understand what I'm saying? Do you get this? And the other person will start to nod. And I've seen entire audiences will start nodding, and then you think to yourself, well, I'm nodding, so I must agree with this person. It's a secret way to get someone to secretly agree with you. So just be careful and make sure no one uses that on you.
One time I was making dinner. I went into the garden for a break, and my boyfriend carried on chopping potatoes. When I was in the garden, I got a really sharp pain in my thumb. I looked down, and I felt like it was bleeding. I thought it was weird because I definitely don't remember cutting my thumb. I ran inside to clean up and tell my boyfriend, and he just cut his thumb in the exact same place where I was chopping up the potatoes. It still freaks me out to this day.
somebody captured on live. There was a building on the left-hand side, and this like flutter of a dark shadow just came across and woof, whipped off. Like, what's going on? And here's another one. Look at this. In SpaceX live again. We've got 2 views of this, right? Look, what is that? See it again at the top here. What is that? No, come on. Here's a better view. There's 2 of them. There's 2 of them.
So what's y'all's opinion on this Qatari Air Force base going up on American soil? If we want to be technical with the terminology, it's an Air Force training facility, where we're going to have Qatari soldiers training with U.S. soldiers on American soil, flying over U.S. cities most likely. There are instances of foreign soldiers training with U.S. troops on American soil, but I don't think anything of this degree. I'm also wondering how much of it is going to be paid for with American tax dollars.
All right, you see that gap? That's about 3 inches of air. No wheels, no tricks. It's actually floating. Yep. Magnets in the board, coil in the mat under the carpet. All the lift's coming from right here. Give it a push and it'll glide just like...
Is a near-death experience just a DMT trip produced by our body? This is what the science says. So very few people will go through the experience of dying without actually dying. They can recall what happened to them and how they felt in their last moments and then recall this back to us. Near-death experiences have been reported as far back as Plato's time. Like in his story, The Myth of Er, some characteristics of a near-death experience are reports of hyperreality, so a feeling that the experience was more real than real life, as well as a feeling of leaving one's body behind and entering an unearthly world, feelings of bliss, and encounters of a spiritual presence of some kind. And even scientific studies have shown that there are correlations between a near-death experience and a DMT trip. The idea that a near-death experience could be linked to the release of DMT came from a well-known psychiatrist, Rick Strassman. He suggested that during the near-death experience, the pineal gland, a tiny pea-shaped gland that produces melatonin, which is the hormone that we need for sleep, and the pineal gland has also been referred to as our third eye, could release massive amounts of DMT when we're dying, which is what causes the similarities between a near-death experience and a DMT trip. But is there actually evidence for this? So we know from rat studies that DMT is released as a stress response. So a lack of oxygen, for example, spikes DMT release in rats, and also affects the enzymes involved in this process. So INMT is an enzyme that's needed for DMT production, and this spikes in withdrawal from heroin in rats. A lack of oxygen can actually decrease the activity of MAO, the enzyme which is key in breaking down DMT. This would allow DMT to build up because it wasn't being broken down as quickly. And what could be the most compelling evidence so far is in 2019, Strassman and Borjagian published a paper that in dying rats in the visual cortex there was a massive release of DMT. And in an interview, Borjagian said that this is a strong indicator that human brains are doing something similar, because cognitive phenomena that are displayed in rats often appear in humans too, although not vice versa. But now we know that the way that DMT is produced in rats is not exactly the same as how it's produced in humans. There's key enzymes that we rely on to produce DMT that rats don't necessarily need. Although this tells us a lot about the evolutionary role of DMT, that DMT might be so important that animals have found multiple ways to produce it, it doesn't help us in building a case that the findings in rats actually apply to humans. The tests that they did on the rats was very invasive. I don't see many people lining up to do this, and it can raise some serious ethical concerns. But as technology gets better, measuring the release of DMT at the stage of dying might be something that we're actually able to do. How compelling do you think this evidence is that a near-death experience is caused by DMT production? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then please like it, and if you like weekly psychedelic videos, then please don't forget to follow our page.
They're afraid to say aliens. They say NHI, which, dolphins are also NHI. It's a broad term. It's non-committal. I'm very committed to the word alien. I like it. I understand that there are different variances.
With its sort of knee-jerk extraterrestrial connotation?
No. Okay. Just in that it's not human.
Okay, cool.
And, I'm aware of the ultra-terrestrial, interdimensional, future us. That's all aliens to me,
cool.
And that's kind of how I want to set this up. I wanted to ask you, first of all, maybe what's your take? So you got a little bit of a different take on the alien situation. Maybe brief us a little bit on your take.
Okay, and you talk about Congress for a second. I don't give a rant about disclosure. I think especially the US government, is a bad faith, corrupt central actor in the domains of UFOs, psychedelics, and cryptocurrency. I think they've squandered their leadership privilege. What I believe in is exposure, sort of better, more fruitful discussions between experiencers of aliens, DMT, ghosts, etc., and scientists. And together they can have productive conversations and move the needle, and the government can hop on the caboose if they want to come along, but they're not.
I've got big news for the human brain organoids. You know, the tiny human brains we grow from stem cells and can run biocomputation on. If you thought this field was moving fast already, well, buckle up. It's about to get a lot faster. Welcome to biocomputation, something that some researchers like to call cellular supremacy. Final Spark, a Swiss company, shocked the world when they offered the tiny human brains as a computation model that you can pay for. The hope is that these little guys can do something that silicone never could, not just parroting back human logic, but creating logic, putting things together in new ways, living and growing. 34 different universities asked Final Spark for access to their materials and methods so that we can learn more about the brain organoids, and they awarded that right to 8 different universities. The computation model works by attaching 8 electrodes to each individual brain organoid with 16 to a chip. They then exchange electrical signals so they can tell the brain organoid what to do, and they can receive what it does. And they're reinforced with dopamine, and you can watch them, if you really want to. But let's talk about the research. Each of the 8 universities is going to focus on a different task around the brain organoids. The University of Michigan, for example, is creating a map of the chemical and electrical prompts that can get the brain organoid to do task shifting. In essence, creating a computer language specific to them. Researchers at Lancaster University Leipzig in Germany are focusing on tasks that these guys do better.
They have technology that you would never have imagined cartels have. I mean, with the amount of money and access they have to certain people and expertise, certainly they can do this. They can learn how to operate anti-drone technology, how to use drones multiple times and drop IEDs, how to set up a minigun. But they're also, you know, they're using technology that it's not typical warfare technology. So even in certain regions, they have like cell phone blockers, but just set up throughout the town too. So you walk in and all of a sudden either your phone doesn't work or it's immediately tapped. But if you're able to hack the president's phone, anyone is at risk. It's anyone that threatens their operations. So of course, yes, they're cartel adversaries, but politicians, law enforcement, journalists, even sometimes people who are working for them, their own straw buyers, people who they feel like they can't fully trust. They're deploying the drones against Mexican.
Alien update. It's over.
This whole time, King Panama was playing a big game. We all had some suspicion, but damn. Grand opening, grand closing. It's officially over. It was all fake. Now we getting back to the spiritual information.
The Aboriginal peoples of Australia tell tales of the rainbow serpent, a creator god and a symbol of fertility, reflecting the serpent's universal association with creation and the sustenance of life. In China, the dragon, a serpentine figure, is venerated as a powerful symbol of strength, good fortune, and the yang principle, aligning with the serpent's association with force and vitality. The Aztecs honored Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, as a god of wind, air, and learning, bearing a striking resemblance to Enki's gift of knowledge and civilization. In the Andean cultures, such as the Mochica, serpents were depicted as water deities, aligning with the life-giving aspect of Enki's realm. The Kukulkan of the Maya, another feathered serpent deity, echoes Quetzalcoatl's attributes, reinforcing the serpent's role as a bringer of culture and knowledge.
There's a podcaster who I am positive was an industry plant, and I've been wanting to talk about this for a really long time, but I don't want to come off like I'm ragging on somebody, but truly her interviews are awful. She sounds so tired in all of her interviews. She gets these huge guests on her podcast, like really big celebrity names. No, I'm not talking about Alex Cooper. Alex Cooper worked her way up in the industry and is clearly here for a reason. This girl, I looked up her background. She was an actress in another country. We've never heard, like no one here has ever heard of her. I don't think she ever started anything major. She didn't come off of like reality TV. She never had a big social media following where it like drew her over to podcasting because she had this huge following. But yet she gets these huge celebrities on her podcast. And I'm like, she's gotta come from wealth or something, because truly the work ethic is not there. The interviews absolutely suck. And if you watch the clips, you'll start recognizing who I'm talking about. You'll see the questions, and she's always kind of foggy and always kind of seems like she's really tired, and she kind of asks the most basic questions that, like, when I see the clips online, I'm not like necessarily encouraged to go watch the full interview. Anyways, if you know who I'm talking about, can you confirm if you think she's also an industry plant? Because it's got to have crossed other people's minds when they see her clips on.
One of the best uses of AI I have ever seen. These are so stupid.
You have to understand that if you call on the devil will answer. And that's exactly what Sam and Kobe did. They just made a video about summoning the devil, and now they're having regrets. Matter of fact, look at this shit. Look at this shit.
I cannot be a part of this. With my faith, you're not supposed to mess with this dark magic. Be careful. But I cannot directly talk to Satan.
Now, anybody in their right mind would know that calling on the devil, summoning the devil, will be the worst thing to do. Look at what just happened with the Annabelle doll. Look at the fires. Look at the people that lost their lives. And then now let's go to Sam and Kobe. They just did a ritual where they summoned the devil. I keep telling y'all, stop playing with these paranormal beings, because the paranormal, supernatural beings will attach themselves to you. And guess what? They won't want to let go. It's another video where he's saying that he feels uncomfortable, like his spirit feels messed up, now that they did what they did. Matter of fact, listen to this shit.
This video that we're posting tomorrow, it goes against my personal beliefs, and it was something that I have been mentally struggling with and battling. Sam and I, for those of you who don't know, pushed the bar further than we ever have before, and although I didn't participate in this personally, we thought it was a good concept for the video to try to directly contact the actual devil, like Satan himself. And just being completely honest with you guys here, I was able to live with myself after this experience, because I was just telling myself, like, hey, because I didn't participate in this, I did nothing wrong per se. And I don't know, just being honest with you guys, like, the past few months I've felt really, really bad as a Christian man about taking it this far.
Now, if he's saying that he feels like that, how do you think Sam is feeling? Like I said in the beginning of the video, when you call the devil will answer. I want y'all to jump in the comments and tell me what you think about this. Shit is crazy.
The James Webb Telescope just found something impossible. Atlas has an 8-to-1 carbon dioxide to water ratio. That is the highest ever recorded. Most comets are water rich. Atlas is the exact opposite. It is wrapped in a CO2 fog that scientists cannot explain. This ratio with a natural formation, but it's also spraying water at 88 pounds per second from 3 astronomical units away. Comets don't release water that far away from the sun. Why would an interstellar object break every single rule we know about comet chemistry? October 29th is 17 days away. Part 9 coming soon.
We're dealing with an artifact that belongs to non-human intelligence.
We now know the Buga sphere is not one of a kind. Similar spheres have been recorded globally, suggesting an ongoing pattern of sightings. But no other footage has matched the clarity or significance of what came next. Just a few months after the Buga sighting, on June 7, 2025, a nearly identical object appeared in Yumbo, Colombia, only 40 miles from Buga. Captured on video by construction contractor William Zuniga, the sphere once again appeared to approach high-voltage power lines before dropping behind the sugarcane, briefly hidden from the camera's view.
This is a sugarcane plantation right here. That's where the sighting was made. And you can hear the sound that the sphere is making when it gets close to the sugarcane. When we heard the whoosh, I saw the sphere going up from the sugarcane crops. And by the time I brought up my phone and I started recording, the sphere had already approximated some high-tension cable wires, and then it goes down into the sugarcane field. It makes a whooshing sound, and while it's rotating, while I'm filming it, I can see the ring around the sphere.
Did you know that Elon Musk's Starlink is responsible for 90% of the UFOs being reported? They're not UFOs. They are Starlink. Apparently these Starlink satellites are falling. They're falling out of the sky. Now, what if something is shooting it down is my thing. So a lot of the UFO reports that we're seeing, they appear to be these bright lights moving around the sky. These deorbiting skylinks, they produce these brilliant fireballs that shoot across the sky also. Now imagine what it looks like when a cluster of them is falling and re-entering into our sky. Even astronomers have occasionally mistaken unusual Starlink re-entry angles for anomalous craft until orbital data matches the events. What if the Starlink satellites aren't falling by accident? Or because someone or something doesn't want to be seen? And does 3i Atlas have anything to do with Elon Musk's Starlink satellites all crashing and coming back into our orbit? I'll tell you all about it in the next.
Breaking, we just lost another CEO. The CEO of LendingTree was unalive this weekend in an ATV accident. He was just 55 years old. This morning, LendingTree announced that he's gone, and they replaced him the same day. You can see the statement right here where they say that they're deeply saddened by his sudden passing, but they appointed the COO to succeed him effective immediately. Now, LendingTree is a company worth almost $1 billion, and it has been criticized for helping to match people with high interest loans. The CEO who passed away was a key figure at LendingTree for years. LendingTree is one of the nation's largest online financial platforms. Now, when moving on, the board said that one of the most important parts of his legacy was the people that he left behind in charge. In other words, they're saying they're moving forward and they're not looking back. LendingTree for helping to match people with predatory loans. You just went to D3 List, a podcast about dumb, desperate, and diabolical business decisions. For more episodes of the D3 List sent to your inbox for free, check out the d3list.substack.com. We've got episodes coming every day straight to your inbox. No algorithm filtering this reporting.
The fact that the government is...
All right, now, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. I hope I didn't speak too much. I hope I didn't speak too little. I would just really like it if you just put your comments down below on how I can improve the channel, how I can improve my videos. Because like I said, I'm just a talking head. This is your guys' channel. You know what I mean? You guys are the fallen angels. You fell into this channel, you know? And I'm here to work for you. So my whole goal is to make you guys enjoy yourself, escape the reality of all the problems outside for a little bit, and just get into all these government conspiracies and all this other stuff that we have going on in the world today. So this is all you're going to see from me for today, but I will be making another video probably tomorrow. So yeah, subscribe, leave a thumbs up if you liked it, write your comments down below, give me some feedback. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
time, bring it down, nigga, talk, I got 3 on the